Ladies and gentlemen, love. It's one of the most profound, complex, and beautiful emotions we experience. But sometimes, love hides. It doesn't always announce itself with grand gestures or perfect words. Sometimes it sneaks in through the little things. A look, a moment, a choice. Today, I want to talk about the signs. Not the obvious ones, but the subtle, deeply revealing signs. The things he does that show he's much more in love with you than even he realizes. You see, some men struggle to express their feelings. Society tells them to be tough, unemotional, guarded. But love doesn't play by those rules. It seeps through the cracks. It shows up when he's not even trying. It might seem like a small thing at first, barely worth noticing. Maybe you mentioned once, in passing, that your favorite flowers are sunflowers. You didn't expect anything from it. But a few weeks later, he shows up with a bunch. Not on your birthday, not on Valentine's Day, just a random Tuesday. That's not a coincidence. That's not a generic move. That's him paying attention. When a man is more in love than he realizes, his ears are tuned to the sound of your voice, even when you think he's not listening. You might tell him a story about something that happened in second grade, a weird food combo you like, or your dream city to visit someday, and it lodges itself in his memory. Not because he's trying to impress you, but because you've already become important to him. Your words matter. Your stories matter. You matter. Even the fleeting things, like the way you said a certain song reminds you of your mom, or how you can't sleep without your favorite pillow. He'll log it somewhere in his mind. And later, when you least expect it, he'll bring it up. He'll surprise you with that song playing on a rainy evening. He'll ask about your mom when you didn't even mention her. He'll bring that pillow when you're staying over, and you'll realize this isn't just good memory. This is emotional investment. Because remembering the little things isn't just a sweet habit, it's a sign of deep emotional connection. It means he's not just hearing you. He's absorbing you. Your thoughts don't pass through him. They land and stay. He might not say, "I love you," out loud. He might not even realize how deep he's fallen. But love leaves clues. And one of the clearest signs is when a man treats your every word like it's worth holding on to. This isn't about big declarations or grand gestures. This is about how he makes you feel seen, even in the tiniest moments. Because someone who remembers the details you thought no one else would notice, that's someone whose heart has already started choosing you, even if his mind hasn't caught up yet. When a man is falling in love, deep, unspoken, soul-level love, it doesn't always show up in big, dramatic actions. Often, it reveals itself in the quiet, consistent ways he tries to lighten your load, smooth your path, or take something off your plate without even being asked. It's in the way he notices you're stressed, and suddenly, your favorite comfort food appears in front of you. Or how he offers to run errands when he sees your day is packed. It's the little moments. Him pumping your gas, grabbing your favorite drink without asking, or fixing that thing around your house that's been broken forever. You didn't beg. You didn't hint. He just did it because your comfort is something he naturally prioritizes. This isn't about being a hero or seeking credit. In fact, he probably won't even point it out. He's not trying to impress you or prove anything. He's doing it because in his heart, your struggles feel like his struggles. Your inconvenience becomes his concern. He wants to remove your stress, even in the smallest ways, because your peace is now tied to his own. And it's not just in the things he does, but in the way he notices. Maybe you sigh a certain way when you're overwhelmed, and He picks up on it before you even say a word. Or maybe you mentioned that your morning routine is chaotic, and suddenly he's texting you reminders or dropping off a coffee to help make it easier. Those aren't random acts. Those are love in motion. When he puts your needs alongside, or even ahead of, his own, not because you asked, but because he wants to, that's powerful. That's not just being nice. That's emotional commitment disguised as helpfulness. And the most telling part, he doesn't make a big deal about it. He won't brag or keep score. To him, it just makes sense to support you, to show up for you, to lighten your burden. Because deep down, even if he hasn't fully admitted it to himself yet, he's already chosen you. And when a man starts choosing you in the everyday ways, through kindness, support, and effort, it's one of the clearest signs that he's much more in love than he even realizes. There's something deeply vulnerable, almost sacred, about a man letting his walls down. Because, let's be honest, many men are taught to be strong, stoic, and emotionally self-contained. They grow up believing they have to man up, hold it together, stay tough. But when a man starts to feel something real, something unshakable, those walls begin to crack. And when he's with someone he truly cares about, he doesn't just show you his best side. He starts showing you his real side. If he's letting you see the parts of himself he doesn't show the world, the fears, the doubts, the unhealed wounds, that's not just comfort. That's trust. That's love beginning to form in the spaces where he used to hide. He might talk to you about his childhood, the things he lost, the things that shaped him. He might open up about the pressure he feels to succeed, the uncertainty he has about his future, or the anxiety he doesn't talk about with anyone else. And while his words may not always be polished or poetic, they'll be real, raw, honest. The kind of honesty that only shows up when his heart feels safe. You'll know it's love creeping in not just by what he says, but by what he shows. Maybe he tears up watching a movie with you and doesn't try to hide it. Maybe he tells you he's had a rough day instead of pretending he's fine. Maybe he trusts you with the things he usually keeps locked away. That kind of vulnerability is not accidental. It's deeply intentional, even if he doesn't realize why he's doing it. When a man begins to trust you with his truth, it's because he feels emotionally seen by you. You're not just a girlfriend, a crush, or a phase. You're someone who makes him feel safe enough to be fully human. And in a world that constantly tells men to tough it out, that kind of emotional freedom is more than rare, it's intimate. It's love, because real love doesn't just thrive in shared laughs or romantic dates. It grows in those raw, messy, soul-bearing conversations at 1 a.m. It blooms when he feels like he can finally take the armor off, sit beside you, and just breathe, without pretending, without filtering, without fear. If he's letting you into his inner world, unguarded, unfiltered, it's not just because he likes you. It's because somewhere deep inside, without even saying it, he's already begun to trust you with his heart. One of the clearest signs that a man is falling deeper in love than he realizes is when his language, his plans, and his dreams begin to shift from me to we. And often, he won't even notice he's doing it. It slips out naturally. He talks about summer vacations and says, "We should go there sometime." He looks at an apartment and casually mentions, "You'd love the view." Or he brings up a concert next year and says, "We should get tickets." Those are not just words. Those are emotional markers. Because when a man starts placing you in his future plans, without hesitation, without effort, it's because he's subconsciously picturing a life that includes you. And love has quietly made its way into the foundation of that vision. It's not always about huge life decisions like marriage or kids. Sometimes it's just the everyday stuff. He's making weekend plans and assumes you'll be there. He's thinking about his career move and wants to know if it works for both of you. He's talking about saving up, and you're automatically part of that equation. You may not even realize it at first, but he's no longer just navigating life solo. He's starting to move like a partner, even if the word partner hasn't officially been spoken. And here's the beautiful part: when a man is more in love than he realizes, he doesn't just invite you into the easy, picture, perfect parts of the future. He includes you in the challenging stuff, too. He'll talk about the risks he wants to take, the fears he has about his goals, or the changes he might face down the line. And he's not just informing you, he's looking for your input, your support, your presence. That means he's already valuing your opinion like he would someone he sees as a permanent fixture in his life. This kind of inclusion isn't about formality or obligation. It's about instinct. He doesn't have to think about whether you fit into the next chapter, because in his heart, you already do. And that instinct, that default setting of you being part of what's next, is one of the clearest, most beautiful signs of love at work. Deep, growing love that he might not have said out loud yet, but it's there, gently guiding the way he sees his future unfold. When a man is truly, deeply in love, whether he realizes it or not, one of the most powerful things he does is begin to protect not just your heart, but your peace of mind. And it's not always dramatic or obvious. In fact, most of the time it's quiet, subtle, gentle, but unmistakably intentional. He becomes more thoughtful with how he speaks to you, more aware of how his actions affect your emotional state. He won't want to bring unnecessary conflict into your world, not because he's scared of you or walking on eggshells, but because he genuinely values your happiness, your stability, your calm. He knows life can be stressful enough on its own, so he makes it his silent mission not to be another source of pressure or pain. You'll notice it in the way he handles disagreement. He doesn't raise his voice just to prove a point. He doesn't storm out or resort to silence as punishment. Instead, he listens. He tries to understand. He communicates not just to defend himself, but to connect with you. He's not trying to win. He's trying to protect the bond you have. That's what love does. You'll see it in how he manages his own moods. If he's had a bad day or feels frustrated, he won't dump that energy on you without thought. He might take a moment, breathe, collect himself, not to hide what he's feeling, but because he respects your space. He doesn't want to hurt you in the crossfire of his own struggles. That kind of self-control, especially in a man who normally bottles things up, is a sign that you matter to him on a very real level. He's careful with your boundaries. He respects when you need time to yourself, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're simply not in the mood to talk. He doesn't take it personally. He doesn't guilt you or make it about him. Instead, he offers support or silence, whichever one you need most. Protecting your peace also means standing up for you even when you're not around. If someone disrespects you, speaks badly of you, or crosses a line, he doesn't let it slide. He defends your name, your energy, your value, because even if he hasn't said it out loud, he sees you as his. And when someone starts loving you deeply, they don't just want to be close to you, they want to shield you, even in ways you might never know about. This kind of love isn't loud. It's not always romantic in the traditional sense, but it's steady, it's loyal, It's safe. And that safety is a form of love that runs far deeper than butterflies or chemistry. It's the kind of love that holds you even in silence and says, I don't want to be another weight on your shoulders. I want to be the reason they feel lighter. When a man begins to care for you on a deeper level, often deeper than even he's fully aware of, something shifts in how he approaches his decisions. You stop being someone he simply informs after the fact, and you start becoming someone he actively consults before the fact. That shift, though it may seem small on the surface, speaks volumes about where his heart is headed. It starts subtly. He might be thinking about switching jobs, and before finalizing anything, he asks, what do you think? He could be planning a trip, buying something big, making a change in his routine, and he wants your take on it. It's not that he can't decide on his own. It's that your perspective matters to him. Your thoughts carry weight. Your feelings play a part in how he maps out his next move. This goes far beyond politeness. It's about emotional alignment. It's about him subconsciously factoring you into his life as more than a visitor, as someone whose voice belongs at the table where important decisions are made. That's partnership, even if he hasn't used that word yet. What's even more telling is when he starts asking your opinion on things that don't directly involve you. He's not asking out of obligation or because he's unsure. He's asking because he wants your insight. It could be something simple, like what shirt to wear to an interview, or something bigger, like how to handle a situation with his family. The act of including you shows that he respects your mind, your perspective, and your emotional intelligence. That's the kind of inclusion that doesn't happen casually. It happens when love is growing, quietly, steadily, and deeply. This isn't about him being indecisive. In fact, many men who are independent and confident in their choices still reach out to the one they love because they recognize that two heads and two hearts are stronger than one. He wants you to feel like you're not just observing his life from the sidelines. He wants you in it, involved, heard, and pay close attention to how he reacts to your input. He doesn't dismiss it. He might even change direction based on what you say. Not because you told him to, but because your thoughts influence him. Your ideas shape his thinking. That level of consideration is rooted in more than just liking you. It's born from a place of deep emotional value, where you're not just someone he enjoys being around, but someone whose insight he trusts, whose thoughts he carries with him. So, when a man starts consistently turning to you before making decisions, especially the important ones, it's not a random habit. It's a reflection of how much he values your voice in his life. Even if he hasn't called it love, even if he hasn't said the words out loud, his actions are starting to paint a clear picture. You're not just in his life. You're becoming part of how he lives it. There's something incredibly telling, almost poetic, about the way a man looks at the woman he loves when she's not paying attention. It's not about physical attraction, though of course that's part of it. It's deeper, quieter, more reflective. It's in those unguarded moments when you're just being yourself, talking, laughing, cooking, reading, or simply sitting in silence, that his gaze lingers longer than it needs to. And in that gaze, love begins to reveal itself. He might not even realize he's doing it, but he finds himself watching the way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're focused. He notices how your nose scrunches slightly when you're confused. He sees how your eyes light up when you talk about something you're passionate about. And he's captivated, not because you're performing, not because you're trying, but because you're simply being you. And here's the truth. People don't stare at things they're indifferent to. They look at what fascinates them, what moves them, what feels rare and precious. So when he's watching you, not in a surface, level, distracted way, but in that soft, still way, like he's memorizing you, it's a strong indicator that his feelings are more profound than he might even be aware of. Sometimes he looks at you like he's trying to freeze time, as if, for just a second, everything in the world fades out and you are the only thing in focus. He may not always say the perfect words or express emotions easily, but his eyes do the talking for him. And what they're saying, silently, gently, but powerfully, is, I see you, all of you, and I care. You might catch him looking at you across the room during a conversation, or watching you laugh with your friends, or even just staring at you while you're lost in thought. When you ask what he's looking at, he might brush it off or smile and say, nothing. But it's not nothing. It's everything, at least to him. In those moments, his guard is down and his heart is showing itself without needing permission. And it's not just about admiration. It's about presence. When he looks at you that way, he's not scrolling through his phone or thinking about what's next. He's right there in that moment with you. That kind of attention isn't fleeting. It's rooted in emotional depth, a kind of depth that often signals a love that's growing stronger, deeper, and more enduring than he's had the words to admit. Because when a man looks at you with that kind of quiet intensity, not just when you're dressed up, but when you're most yourself, it means something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Something sincere, something real, something he might not have said yet, but he's already showing you every time he thinks you're not looking. When a man begins to fall deeply for someone, more deeply than he even realizes, one of the most telling signs isn't in the charm, the confidence, or the affection. It's in the vulnerability. And not just the vulnerability that looks good on the surface, the deeper, messier kind. The kind where he shows you the parts of himself he usually hides, the parts he doesn't flaunt, the fears he doesn't admit to anyone, the flaws he normally tries to cover up. He'll start to let you in on the things that make him feel insecure, ashamed, or unsure of himself. Maybe it's a past mistake he's still working through. Maybe it's a dream he's too scared to chase. Maybe it's a part of his personality he's always struggled with. When he starts revealing these things, it's not because he wants pity. It's because he's beginning to trust you with the most unfiltered human parts of who he is. And that trust, especially coming from a man who usually keeps things close to the chest, is a massive emotional milestone. Because love doesn't just want to impress you. Real love wants to be seen by you fully. Love says, "Here I am, unpolished, imperfect, but real. Can you still care for me even like this?" You'll hear it in the way he phrases things. He might say, "I've never told anyone this before," or "I'm not proud of this, but here's something I struggle with." And when he does, it's not just him being open. It's him allowing himself to be emotionally naked in front of you. That kind of exposure isn't easy, especially for someone who's used to protecting himself or being the strong one. He might talk about family issues he's tried to forget, about the pressure he feels to always have it together, about how he doubts his worth sometimes, or fears being not enough. And when he shares these things with you, what he's really doing is giving you access to the most fragile parts of his identity. That's not casual. That's not something people do with just anyone. That's the kind of openness reserved for someone who feels like home. And here's the beautiful part. When a man starts to fall in love without fully realizing it, he often starts revealing these fears not as a test, but as an instinct. It's his way of subconsciously saying, I want you to know the real me, not just the good parts, all of me. And the fact that he wants you to see those sides, the raw, vulnerable, uncertain sides, means something profound is happening in his heart, because anyone can show you their highlight reel. But when he shows you the behind the scenes, the unedited, sometimes uncomfortable truth of who he is, that's when you know his feelings run deeper than he's probably admitted. He's not just trying to win your affection anymore. He's inviting you into the inner sanctuary of his life, and that kind of emotional intimacy. That's where real love begins to live. So if you're wondering how deeply he feels, watch what he does more than what he says. Love doesn't always show up with grand gestures or perfect words. Sometimes it's in the quiet looks when you're not watching. Sometimes it's in the way he softens his voice when you're upset, or how he remembers that little detail you mentioned once and brings it up weeks later. If he's doing these things, even if he hasn't found the courage or clarity to say the words, I love you, chances are his heart is already ahead of him. He may not realize just how deeply he's in this, but his actions are already speaking for him. So don't rush him. Don't pressure him. Just keep being the safe place where he can land, the light he instinctively moves toward, the peace he wants to protect. Because if he's doing these things, he's already loving you more than he even knows. And soon, sooner than he expects, his heart is going to catch up with what his soul has been whispering all along.